I think it can be really easy to make excuses for why bad people stay. Like you've said before that, like as your role progresses as a business owner, then your main job becomes, maintaining the culture. And these are all things to maintain a healthy, positive culture, even though they're maybe being presented in like a very tough love fashion. But like this demonstrates right there, like you are creating a great place to work.
Yep.
And I love that. I think it's so important because it can be so easy to tell the story like, well, I can't get rid of this guy because he knows how to do this and we book these kinds of projects and nobody wants to work right now. Like you can get in your own way about that and not realize that you are truly killing your entire culture just with your own kind of excuses or indirectness. And it is crazy how taking this direct approach, having the hard conversations, maintaining accountability for everybody, not taking the accountability off you as the leader, but asking them as well, like, how can you change this? How can we change this? What can I do? What can you do? Yep. It's a really nice approach and it pays off huge in terms of culture.
For sure. And it's going to feel uncomfortable and it's not going to be fun. But the fact of the matter is people appreciate it. People appreciate accountability.
Well, and the great people on your team, the people that you have attracted, have come to your team and are thriving, like those are the people you want to keep and nurture and you want to make them have a great environment. It's crazy on one person that doesn't fit the culture and is not a match. You probably know from the first week that they're there and, those people make it a bad place to work for the good people. Like you should really, and not everyone, just like not everyone's your ideal client. I mean, truly not everyone's your ideal employee. There's jokes in this industry about how, if they can breathe, they can work, but that's so not true if you're trying to build a company with a good culture that will actually scale and be somewhere people want to work. Like, like you should have much higher standards, but people just like bad clients, poorer performing employees will come in. That's where your job is to be direct and have the hard conversations.
Exactly. And like I said, that stuff doesn't ever get easier. Nobody wants to come to work all the time. And it's not all the time. Things ebb and flow. I had that conversation this morning while I was having one of the good conversations. And I said, it's like no one wants to go to work and have hard conversations all the time. But there's portions of, like you said, right now is a weird time. This week's been weird. There's times when you're going to have a million and it's all going to be really, really hard all the time. And then there's going to be times where it feels like everything's perfect and you have no issues.
It is so crazy. And that was something we wanted to talk about too in a separate episode, but I can kind of drop in here. It's like entrepreneurship, owning a business, this whole game is like, it's high highs and low lows, man. And you just have to be willing to ride the ride. Cause it's very rarely ever in a neutral place or always in a high place.
Yeah.
And something we've kind of talked about too, because we are experienced in the whole like having employees, thing. And it's like someone tends to become, I don't know how to say this tenderly, but someone tends to become the person at the bottom or the person who is causing the issues. And when that person's gone, it's maybe someone who's affecting the culture. It almost seems like naturally someone else falls to the bottom. And then there's always like the rock stars that rise to the top, but it's just something that's part of building a team with a lot of different personalities, a lot of different skills, people and different opportunities where people can grow, people with different backgrounds, people with different things going on in their everyday life and in different places, like mentally, whatever, like it is kind of a natural thing that happens. And so I think it can shock a lot of people though. Cause I remember realizing that a few years ago, it's like, wow, it feels like we got rid of the one person that was doing bad. And then what just happened? Somebody, this person that was doing great just seems to be totally on the bottom now. It's a weird phenomenon. And I'd love to know if other people have experienced that. Cause I feel like we're constantly battling that.
And I've always heard that though. Like I remember that in the body shop and everything, you always find a new bottom, a new person that you're working with, because when you take away the bottom, the next person up becomes that. And I think then it becomes about, trying to coach those people and finding what the acceptable bottom is, because there's always going to be top players and bottom players. And
just like on a team, probably with sports, we don't know because we don't watch sports, but that's probably how that works. Some
players
too.
sit on the bench, but they're still on the team. A pro team.
Yeah, that's true. Like you said, like you don't want to always be having those hard conversations. And I think this has been, like you said, a big week of that. But then it's crazy how with the high highs and the low lows, I feel like we're going to just swim right into like glorious weeks of ease probably, because that's how it goes. Everything will be going great all across the board. And then it all hits at once. And it's kind of just how it goes. But it can be, I think, pretty isolating and lonely when you like, it's got to be, you're like very experienced at this now, but I would imagine when you first realize, holy shit, this is my sole responsibility, that's probably like pretty overwhelming.
Yeah. I mean, like, so I just had something that's distracting me a little bit in the middle of the conversation. There's a client that's unhappy with the job we just finished, right? And really what you realize though is I care more about that and preventing that from happening. And that is by having good people. And that's by making sure we're always staying on the culture to take care of those things. And it makes it, when you start looking around at like, what are the things that you really, really need to focus on? You start, at first you think you're being mean and you're not belittling people. You're not degrading people. You're just
if you do it right.
if you're doing it right, you're just making sure the team is where the team needs to be. And just like that client being upset, like it might have not even been at the fault. It was just a little mix up in communication or something. But like, if that was the team's fault for doing whatever, that's just like the team can potentially let the rest of the team down because of our success, the success we have. So that's the overarching thing that keeps you away from caring about having the hard conversations suck. Nobody wants to have them over and over, but there's this big purpose and this big reason that powers you to go and do those. So I'm more experienced probably doing them, but in the same token, I have no more fucking fun than the first day when I did it.
The whole reasoning behind having these hard conversations, maintaining the culture, it's to continue or it's to remain aligned and continue driving the whole ship forward. Then it truly makes sense that this whole premise would carry over into your personal life, into your relationships. And I think that we can all probably relate to having to have these hard conversations in our relationship, or whether it's like with our significant other or with someone important in our lives. Maybe it's with a family member who's not like respecting boundaries, or who's like a total wreck, or just something like that. I mean, like we can speak from experience with that, where we have a low tolerance in our personal lives for people who are not aligned, who are not going to help us continue moving forward in our lives. Not, and maybe that sounds selfish, but more of like the people, the people that hold you down, or the people that are just like toxic. Like you have those in your friend groups and you have those in your family. That is just the way the cookie crumbles. Yeah. And we have had a plethora of those conversations over the years where maybe we're setting hard boundaries, or someone's just not part of our life anymore because we've had hard conversations about how this is how we're moving forward. And it's so interesting because it's the same thing. It's for the sake of, in this instance, our kids, not a team. Yeah. But it's like for the sake of the positive growth of everyone involved here, like this is how this is going to happen.
Yeah, when you stop looking about like how you feel and how it makes you feel to do these things and how it makes that one person feel to receive this, and you start looking at everything like how does that affect the whole?
Well, I think that you're doing a favor. Like I think about, let's talk about.
That's a whole different topic. That's a whole nother subject. Yeah.
Right. But like, let's just like kind of take it off the whatever for a minute of like, let's say we're cutting off a family member that by traditional standards should never be cut off. Then you really are like it. If you've gotten to that point where you're cutting out someone toxic, which is a very like parallel situation to maybe finally just ending things with a toxic employee, everyone's going to be better. Not just you and the people that you're protecting in that instance, but like it's better for that person too. There was something like that prompted all of this. And I truly believe, back to the employee situation, I think that when you let an employee who doesn't align with your mission and your values and your goals and the culture and everyone else, like when you let them go, or they inevitably, move on because they know they don't fit, like I think nothing but success could come next for them. Because you're obviously like, you're grinding here. And so it's like, here's an incredible opportunity for you to actually go find somewhere that you don't.
Yeah, you're actually doing that. That's the other thing. And we're not even necessarily talking about, well, we talked about if you have to fire somebody that you got to, but like, so we're not even necessarily talking about firing people, but on the same token, on that side of what you just said, like it's your duty to try to help your employees as much as possible. And even though sometimes it doesn't seem like help, the most important thing you could do for them is get them out of where they're at and give them the opportunity to be somewhere else. And if you have a hard time with that and you think that's wrong and you want to try to be nicer and try to coach them forever, well, maybe you should go a step further than, instead of just letting them go, find them a new potential spot to land that better suits them, since you know them now. You could actually be holding someone back from their true potential by having them in your job if they're not ever going to be the right fit.
Whether in that position or just in your company as a whole, I think it's so true. And even if it is, I mean, any hard conversation not only feels better after you've had it, it's like that immediate like weight off your shoulders, but you have hopefully action steps to move you forward, so you know what comes next and you know what's going to happen next if this continues, and how are we going to make a change. But it's also like such an incredible opportunity, and it is your duty as a business owner, as a parent, whatever it is in the instance that you as a listener may be thinking of right now, and relating back to your own life. Like, it is your duty to have those, because it's going to be a positive every time.